can have this and hold your hand.
No, I'm fine. I still get scared.
All right, guys. We're continuing on chapter 3, where we started our ecology unit briefly yesterday, where we defined what ecology is, said that it would be a really cool job because you'd be spending a lot of time outdoors. Talked about the fact that you usually study a certain organism in their environment. Okay, that's why you spend a lot of time outdoors. We gave some examples of how that's useful, how that could be useful in Ohio. And, you know, ecologists may look at deer populations or examine St. Mary's Lake or the ash borer trees, those kind of deal. Those are issues that would deal with ecology. Then we discussed the difference between abiotic and biotic factors. Biotic, bio, life, living factors that affect an organism. Abiotic factors are non-living factors that affect an organism. So if you have a little frog here, and you wanted to identify all the biotic factors in that frog's world, you would mention all the living things that have something to do with his or her life. In other words, the insects, even though I don't think they're here, I gotta sneeze. The what?
Look at the light.
White.
It helps.
That's white by the crane thingy.
It's showing underneath the water, I think.
Either that or the sandy? I don't. That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but there's a fish on the blue one.
I got you. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. We're gonna go with it.
It's showing in that one.
All right, maybe. So this is where you would talk about maybe the insects it eats. What's going to eat the frog in this picture?
The crane.
Maybe the crane thing, a bird,
Heron.
the heron.
The hawk thing.
All right.
Sure, there is a hawk.
The hawks.
The hawk, yeah.
The hawks would take it too. Shh, listen. Shh.
Because the crane thing would eat the fish.
That's right. So all the biotic factors are all the living things. Hey, be sure you don't leave out the plant world, okay? So, perhaps you can talk about the grasses, which provide a home or a place to hide. And don't forget the things you can't see. What's everywhere that you can't? Bacteria. Okay? All right. Bacteria are part of this frog's life, too, good and bad. That kind of stuff. Very good. Abiotic factors, things like humidity, light, water, temperature, blah, blah, blah. All those non-living factors that are going to affect the life of the frog. So remember those two words. The only thing I wanted to do today is I wanted to start, and these are words you've heard of before, so we're going to move kind of fast. I want to talk first of all about what every ecosystem needs. Producers. Primary producers is usually how it's termed together. Primary producers. They are also known as autotrophs. Autotrophs. These are organisms that make their own food. I always remember this because autotrophs automatically make their own food. We are obviously not autotrophs. Every ecosystem, every environment would not survive without primary producers. They are basically one of the most needed parts of the food chain. Okay. It's a good time to remind you about photosynthesis, which is the way they make their own food. Please remember, CO2 and water and light energy, LE, light energy, are the reactants, are what's needed for photosynthesis. And in the end, two very important things are made. See if you can fill in the blanks. Don't say anything. What two very important things are made as a result of photosynthesis? One of them actually is really important. The other one's kind of like a little waste product. That's okay. Which is important for us. You're right. Sugar. What's the other one?
Water.
Oxygen. Okay, that's okay. It's easy to confuse these because you know this is the reverse reaction for something else. But right now we're just focusing on photosynthesis. Remember, this is why you have to water plants. This is why plants need a supply of CO2. All right. Anyway, most of the primary producers out there in the world are going to perform photosynthesis to generate their own food. However, there is another way it can be done. Something called chemosynthesis. And this is kind of cool. Does anybody know of an example of something that can perform chemosynthesis? Or where? Where are some places where the sun don't shine?
In the bottom of the ocean.
Bottom of the ocean. Great example. There are places where the sun don't shine, but there better be producers there, or else nothing else would live there.
Under rocks.
What about caves?
Probably, because a lot of bacteria, or some of the bacteria can actually perform chemosynthesis.
Stalagmites and stalactites.
You never heard the expression, almost did that with the sun don't shine?
Somebody didn't hear that? Or somebody did? I forget.
This thing looked at me weird when I said my butt.
Okay.
The sun don't shine on my knee anymore.
Hey, I thought it might be kind of interesting to see the formula for chemosynthesis. These organisms still have to start off with CO2. They don't necessarily need water, but they do need some kind of chemical. Usually it's hydrogen sulfide. In other words, and this stuff's released by volcanoes. So in the bottom of the ocean where you have these volcanic vents, where the sun don't shine, a lot of those volcanic vents are releasing this hydrogen sulfide where you and I would be poisoned by it. But other organisms use that as their energy source because they don't have light. And what happens is they produce sugar from that. Believe it or not, they can actually form sugar, which is the whole point. Now, they don't make oxygen, okay? Instead, they make sulfur. So usually in these places, oops, I spelled sulfur wrong. Usually in these places, kind of stinky, okay?
Is that where school water smells?
I
So bad.
don't exactly know the reason, but it wouldn't surprise me if there are bacteria that are doing this, but I'm not sure. I think it's just a natural part of the soil, which
Ew.
the source of
Is
the
there water
soil, I'm
in
not
the
sure.
soil?
Okay.
I thought sulfur was SULFER.
Yeah. I thought it was
Close
FUR too.
Close enough. But I think it's PHER. I could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure.
You can add that to your
Can
list.
you look
for
it up on the internet?
I know. I'm just not doing very
You
well
look it
today.
up on there afterwards. 'Cause it's
Okay.
not-
Primary producers, extremely important. The opposite of that are consumers, otherwise known as heterotrophs. We are heterotrophs. We are consumers. We can't make our own food, even if we sit out in the sun for a really long time. Okay? Consumers come in many different forms. You've heard these words. Carnivores eat meat only. Herbivores are like vegetarians. They eat plant-based materials. Omnivores can eat either plants or meat. It's actually probably what humans more are omnivores.
I don't eat.
Now, other type of consumers are scavengers. Name a scavenger in Ohio.
Buzzard.
Good.
I was just gonna say that.
Very good. Your vultures, your buzzards, anything that like eats dead stuff off the side of the road, scavenges.
Do raccoons eat dead bodies?
You know that somebody else in the other class brought that up, and we were having the conversation about what raccoons eat. What do raccoons eat?
Trash.
I don't really think that they eat
Oh,
dead
and I thought they ate like that too. I think they eat whatever they can find.
Sigh. Fat lards.
Okay,
I've never seen one eat
They hate
dead
beavers.
animal or anything.
that's interesting. That's
Honey badger.
that is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, when there's
Cat
They go nuts on
food.
beavers.
Cat food.
love that show. Do they? I'm gonna sprinkle cats in the backyard. Track some raccoons.
That's probably why
You
my
ever see
cat
the
never
one
puts
that-
out a knife because
You ever see the one where
stupid
they're out there
raccoons
collecting
bully
blueberries
my
and cites
little
to
honey
raccoon
badger.
I
food?
used to have a pet raccoon. I fed it marshmallows all the time.
At the
Jason
bowling-
put one on like dog.
Okay.
My grandma has
I'm running out of time. I'm almost done. There are another group of organisms that are called decomposers or detrivores. Actually, I'll be honest, besides producers, these guys are really important. Our world without decomposers would be yucky. Okay? Decomposers or detrivores, these are like the recyclers of our community. They will take dead matter or broken down matter, plant or animal, whatever, and grind it up. Think about it.
The beasts.
They are the our lives would be disgusting without these critters. Okay, this examples would be like your earthworms. Most bacteria out there are decomposers. This is why, you know, if you have any kind of rotting corpse, if it's not an animal that gets it, it's going to be the bacteria that decays it. That's a good thing. You know, you want dead matter to be broken down. So they have a very, very, very important job in life. You know, I'm going to get cut off by the bell here. There are certain fungi that are decomposers and detrivores. They break down things as well.
What about maggots? Are they earthworm?
Termites.
Maggots are just
They eat dead bodies.
yeah.
It's like episode got maggots.
Huh. All right, we'll pick up from there, though. But again, these are words that probably are pretty familiar to you guys, which is the nice thing about it.